afternoon, and welcome to the Lyric Professors. I am Professor A, and am joined, as usual, by Professor Dogger, as above, so below, and a sort of mesh thing. Professor Chair has joined us from the other side of the world.
I'm being like main protagonist
I
for today,
see.
Professor A.
Right.
I'm being like him. We'll learn all about him today.
Excellent. So this is your choice. This is our last three-parter of the series.
Yes.
The season, whatever you want to call it. And this was your choice. Would you like to elucidate?
Well, finally, we've got on to the best band in the world. Finally, we've reached a logical conclusion. The best poet in the world
Wow.
and the best band in the world. We have chosen...
I could have sworn that was the Smiths and Stephen Patrick Morrissey. I'm sure you said that at some point.
I mean, first place, equal. Since we've all got Olympic fever, we have equal gold medals here. So we are doing the Doors.
The Doors.
The Doors. I want to just talk about the name of the group for a second. I want to just backpedal. I met a guy recently. We were having a musical chat, and he suggested to me, and I thought this would be a good topic for us to talk about, Professor A.
Okay.
He said, according to his dad, the Beatles were the first group where the name was a thing, and it wasn't somebody or somebody and the somethings. Discuss.
Possibly. I'm not entirely sure about foundation dates of bands and things back then, but about them.
So, I mean, the Beatles was like 62, 61, 62, something like that, if I remember right. But before that, it was always, Martha and the Wailers.
Yeah, I was thinking them, Van Morrison's band, but they weren't actually referred to as Van Morrison and them. They were just them. I'm not sure if they were before. Definitely 60s, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What about, where did the Kinks start?
Mid to late 60s, like 65, the Kinks, I think. So yeah, so I think, I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to champion this.
It's possible.
Beatles,
we should look it up. Yes.
Yeah.
The internet will know, and it'll be true.
Yeah.
It's just on the internet.
Absolutely. So yeah. Okay, so we have the Doors. So the Doors, also not person and name, although really they are a person. And they're an American rock band formed in Los Angeles in 1965, comprising 4 people: Jim Morrison, vocalist; Ray Manzarek, keyboardist; guitar playing of Robbie Krieger, and John Densmore on the Skins. What do you notice immediately about that lineup, Professor A?
There ain't no bass, Professor J.
There ain't no bass player, and I had completely overlooked that until I started doing my research on this band.
Ray Manzarek basically played the bass parts on keyboard.
He did. So they had a bass player when they were recording the albums. They had session players. Also, Robbie Krieger said that in a lot of cases it was him who was playing the bass. Because one song that we're doing today is led by the bass, so that's why it's quite surprising. So yeah.
They also had a female bass player who played live with them.
Oh really?
I can't remember her name though. It's in this 18 pages of small typed notes that I've got here somewhere.
Okay, I look forward to hearing all of it.
Yes.
So they were formed in 1965. The way that they formed was that Jim Morrison, who is the main dude, and Ray Manzarek were both students at the very famous UCLA School of Theatre, Film and Television. So they were both from an arts background, and in fact you do see some later works of Ray Manzarek where he has written and directed films, so he has a strong background. So they were attending UCLA and they met on Venice Beach. Do you know Venice Beach, Professor A?
Well, we have discussed Venice B before. We
We have,
discussed
indeed.
Lana Del Rey. Yes, I haven't,
Yes.
as I said then, I've not been there. I believe you have and liked it.
Yeah, I love it. It's
Yeah.
a pretty great place. So yeah, so they
Just to put it, sorry,
they
the bass player, Patricia Sullivan, played bass with them in 1965, so presumably started out as a member of the band and then was dropped.
Patricia Morrison was a bass player in.
In the Sisters, yes.
Do all female bass players have to be called Patricia?
No, some of them are called Melissa and as in Oftemer and others. Darcy at the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah. So yeah, so they met on the beach, and Jim Morrison told Ray that he'd been penning some lyrics for some songs, and Ray said, "Oh, he listened to some of the words, and in fact, the first words that he said to Ray Manzarek were the opening words of the song that became Moonlight Drive."
Really? I did not know.
Which we will come on to later on, I believe.
Not this
This is
episode.
not this episode, but it will come in later on, so I won't go through them. At that time, Rick Manzarek was in a band called Rick and the Ravens. So it was
It's Ray Manzarek.
yes, Ray. Sorry, what did I say? Did I say Rick?
Yes.
Yes. So Ray was in a band called Rick and the Ravens. And again, the band name was Person and a Thing.
Yes.
It wasn't. So with his brothers Rick and Jim, they asked Jim to join. There was this whole convoluted thing of them giving up, and finally the Doors made it big. We're going to talk about each of the guys for the beginning of each of our episodes, but let's start with Jim Morrison, obviously, today. So what do you know about James? What's his name?
Jim.
I've forgotten his name.
James
Douglas
Morrison.
Morrison, born 1943.
I know he looked a lot like Val Kilmer. And he was a sort of rock poet, I believe you would say.
Yeah.
Well, he was the first to do that or not, I'm sure you'll say he was. You've also got your Patti Smiths and all that, but yes.
So yeah, so Jim Morrison, James Douglas Morrison, was born 1943. We'll have to mention immediately that he's part of the famous 27 Club, the musicians who died tragically young at the age of 27, which includes Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse,
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, all those dudes. So he was a songwriter and poet with a very energetic persona, poetic lyrics, distinctive voice, and erratic and unpredictable performances. Hence me starting with me not facing the camera. In terms of his life, he grew up with a military father, which meant that he moved around a lot, which meant that he struggled to have any childhood friends. As such, he threw himself into other things such as poetry. He read a lot of very detailed poetry, wrote poetry, and did a lot of paintings, and found his escape in the artistic pursuits. Very much a loner. And it stayed that way until he found alcohol. And when he found alcohol and other recreational substances,
all of the drugs.
Or he did all of the drugs. He found his escape, which ultimately killed him, unfortunately. So he is one of the most influential frontmen in rock history. And he was really encapsulating the counterculture movement of the time in the 60s. Some of his poetry and the performances of the Doors, not the songs, but the sort of poetical stuff, is pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. He's got a scream unlike anybody else you've probably heard on record. He also went by the name the Lizard King.
Yes.
Do you know the?
I did know, but just something about licking a lizard or something.
Well, I mean, there's no definitive answer as to why he referred to himself as the Lizard King.
In the movie, wasn't it, that he was on peyote or something and was staring at a lizard for days or something?
Yeah. So the assumption is that Morrison went insane because of the substance abuse and believed he could communicate with reptiles. He did spend some of his childhood in New Mexico, and he got familiar with reptiles such as lizards and snakes. And then, yeah, as he said, he started claiming that he could speak to the lizards. Not only that, but he claimed that he could control them using his mind. Another potential theory is that because he had this insecurity and shyness, that he developed an alter ego that would allow him to go onto stage, and this was the Lizard King, and you know, that's part of it. But everybody refers to him as the Lizard King. There's another significant thing that we need to talk about with his childhood.
Just put it here. So I did a song called "Celebration of the Lizard."
We heard it.
No.
It's a performance. It's not a song.
Is it? Right. That's on one of their live albums.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So yeah, so there's this again. It's a phrase that comes up in a couple of his pieces about Indians bleeding on desert highways, and this has influenced a lot of his writing. So in 1947, when he was 3 or 4, he alleged that he witnessed a car accident in the desert when a truck overturned and Native Americans were lying injured on the side of the road. This comes up in Peace Frog, Morrison Hotel, on Dawn's Highway, and Ghost Song, which is on the 1978 posthumous album, which we'll come on to later on. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because he described this as the most formative event of his life. And in a lot of the songs, he has imageries of that. Plus, Morrison believed that the ghosts of those dead, this is a quotation, though the ghosts of those dead Indians leaped into his soul, and he was like a sponge ready to sit there and absorb it.
Crikey.
So he says that a lot about the imagery that he has. Of course, nobody else in his family remembers it like that.
Of course not. Yes. Being 3 or 4 is the best foundation for a memory.
Yeah. I mean, there was a car accident on an Indian reservation when he was a child, and he was upset about it, about a crying Indian. This is a quotation from the Morrison biography, "No One Gets Out of Here Alive." The Morrison's imagery is Indians scattered all the highway bleeding to death, which is exaggerated according to his sister.
Who was one.
Yeah. So again, the thing with his father was a military guy, and he wanted him to go to a military school. He disobeyed him and went to film school at the age of 19, I believe, and they never spoke again. And you know, despite everything that he went through, you know, he was world famous. He at the end of his life, he moved to Paris. In fact, he died in Paris. He's buried in Père Lachaise.
Yeah, the chair.
Yeah, exactly, like Jimmy.
Yeah. Why are they buried there? That's what I don't understand. I know it's a famous place where famous people are buried, but do they sort of like grab you from wherever you died in the world and steal you and take you to Père Lachaise?
It's a cool cemetery. It's a really nice place.
But wouldn't people be buried in their own home country more usually? I'd have thought.
I don't know. Maybe they couldn't keep them cold enough to get them home in those days.
But Jimi Hendrix didn't die in France, did he?
He died in London, right?
Yeah, so why isn't he buried in Highgate or something?
I don't know. No, I don't.
Very strange.
No idea.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so at UCLA, he studied theatre, film, and cinematography. He self-published 2 volumes of poetry in 1969, The Lords / Notes on Visions and The New Creatures. And he's got other things such as there's the Lost Writings of Jim Morrison, Volume 1, which is called Wilderness.
Right.
He's done a lot of poetry. There's references to Indians, lizards, counterculture. In terms of his persona on stage, he was a bit crazy. Like he would often sing without facing the audience. He was a very charismatic sexual man that drove the crowds wild. They said that all the women wanted to sleep with him, all men wanted to be him. He would take his clothes off on stage, and sometimes he would get his member out on stage, which got him into trouble and arrested several times. There is a photo of him being arrested at the age of 19, drunk and disorderly. He was arrested on stage as well for exposing himself. There's the famous thing of when they went on the Ed Sullivan show, which was the biggest thing on telly in those days, and they expressly forbade him to say the word "hi" in "higher," like my fire, and he did it and got into trouble for it. So he was a real counterculture guy.
Yeah, I mean, Ed Sullivan carried a lot of weight. I think his insistence, their tour was cancelled after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't just
he was
for his show that he had to.
Yeah. So that's the Doors and Jim Morrison. So they had a very brief career. Like we said, he died at the age of 27. So he died in Paris, France in 1971. So they had a short career, but quite productive. There were 4 or 5 albums and some posthumous albums, which we'll come on to.
Yeah. And he single-handedly invented Ian Astbury.
He did single-handedly create Ian Astbury. Ian Astbury is not only a Jim Morrison wannabe, but has also been Jim Morrison in the official Doors band, playing with the other 3 members, right?
The Doors of the 21st century. No, not with the other 3 members, because the drummer, along with the estate of Jim Morrison, sued them for using the Doors as part of their name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
he wasn't invited. Did you want to discuss the name of the band at all?
Oh, crikey, how have I missed that? So what does the name of the band mean to you, Professor A?
Well, it's obviously it was taken from something which was taken from someone else. It's taken from the book by English writer Aldous Huxley, who did Brave New World, I believe, called The Doors of Perception. But he got that phrase from a poem by William Blake, also English, called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, which I have studied. I've also studied Brave New World, so I should in fact be a lizard king by now.
Should be. Yeah, so the Doors of Perception, published in 1954, elaborates on the psychedelic experience under the influence of mescaline of Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley. It recalls the insights he experienced from the purely aesthetic to sacramental vision. And the piece that's most important is the phrase which is, when the doors of perception are opened, we can see things as they truly are, or something like that.
Yes.
That's not exactly it. So The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by Blake was written in an imitation of biblical prophecy, but it was really expressing Blake's own intensely personal, romantic, and revolutionary beliefs.
Blake's a very interesting person.
Yeah. It was. Do you know how it was originally published?
It's probably a engraving or a woodcut or something. That's what he used to do.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were. It was etched plates containing prose, poetry, and illustrations that were then coloured by Blake and his wife Catherine. Do you know what the first line of the Marriage of Heaven and Hell is?
The ancient tradition that the world will be. Is it that bit? No, I can't remember
No.
the first line.
It's Rintrah roars and shakes his fires in the burdened air. Hungry clouds swag on the deep. It's
some lyrics there.
There's some amazing lyrics. Then, so that's the opening line of the book. I'm just going to come on to the piece which mentions the doors of perception. I'll bring the preamble first. First, the notation that a man has a body distinct from his soul is to be expunged. Blah, 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 blah. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. For man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern.
Crikey.
Yeah, so this was very much, the doors of perception was embraced. The writings of Aldous Huxley were embraced by Tim Healy, who was one of the people who was, especially in California, was encouraging people to take LSD and to experiment with it. And he led various things. I think on UCLA campus, he would have these LSD parties where everybody would sit down and take it, and they would try and sort of have an experience together. It's a bit like when people do the ayahuasca nowadays, right?
I have no idea what that is.
Well, ayahuasca is the very trendy thing to do for people to find some sort of enlightenment. It's ayahuasca is a native South American sort of mix of stuff, presumably lizards and cactuses that people take.
Peyote.
And yeah, peyote type thing. And people either travel to places like Bolivia to do it, but there's a lot of them sort of happening over this side of the world, and occasionally somebody will die during it, so it's often in the papers. So yeah, so that's it. That's how they formed. They formed in 1965, and their first album, called The Doors, came out in 1967. And to kick us off, I have selected track one, side one, and Break On Through.
Indeed.
What's your thoughts of this song before we get into it?
I think it's probably one of the two songs that everyone knows.
Yeah.
Possibly there might be a third. Sure.
And interestingly, it was a mega flop.
Was it?
It reached 126 in the charts. It did not do very well, and it's short. It's only 2 minutes 26 long.
Yes, that's true.
So,
but having said that, it's sold 250,000 copies in Germany, which is gold certified. 200
must be a re-release.
Yeah, probably 200,000 in the United Kingdom, which is silver.
Yeah. It charted in the 80s, I think.
Right.
Potentially after the Oliver Stone film, The Doors, which is amazing. Have you seen the Oliver Stone film? I know you alluded to it.
I have.
With your Val Kilmer.
I think I saw it on a 2-inch screen on an airplane. So I should probably give it a viewing on a decent sized screen or something.
It's an amazing film. Undoubtedly the best film ever made.
Of course it is.
So focusing on the best band ever made.
Yes.
Okay. Should we dive into some of the Electric Poet's finest writings?
Let's do that.
Okay. You know, doesn't start like that. You know, the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Yeah.
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 Well, the first lines of the passage of time, presumably. Day destroys the night. Light takes the darkness away. Dogger's enjoying this one.
She sure is. She's got great taste.
Yes. No, we're not going to bark. Barking is unacceptable.
She likes it. Let her bark.
It's not hurting your ears as much as it does mine. Some people have said on yourgenius.com that this is a reference to the creation of the world in the Bible, but
yeah,
entirely sure about that.
It's all light and dark in it.
It is yin and yang.
Yeah.
Ones and zeros, as you say.
Like jazz.
Yes.
We're back to Poppy again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. More words. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side.
Of course, the other side, we didn't say it, it's fairly obvious that the break on through to the other side is of the doors of perception.
Exactly. What's good about these lyrics is, in terms of having them in a document, is that you can tell when a verse or a chorus ends because he says yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty useful.
Yeah, I think Ian Astbury evolved that aspect somewhat. He wasn't happy with a yeah, so woo, oh yeah, baby, usually, or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could definitely see the lineage.
Yeah.
We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there, but can you still recall the time we cried? That sounds a bit like Steven Seagal to me, I'm going to have to say.
Wow, that's a comment.
Indeed.
That's a comment.
You still recall the time we cried? It's looking for some.
Hey, this was the 60s. It was the 60s, man.
Goody.
We couldn't count on culture. We had to counter the culture.
That's very good. Just
all right.
Tune in, turn on, burn out in the acid rain and all.
All that jazz. More words. Everybody loves my baby. Everybody loves my baby. She get high. She get high. Yeah.
You missed out. Hey, come on, yeah. Before that.
Oh, I thought I said that. I said, yeah, come on, yeah. I don't have a hey.
Who knows? Even after 50 years, people can't agree on the lyrics. How about
that? Okay, so
everybody loves his girl because she gets high.
Yeah. She gets high. Cause I get high. Cause I get. Who was that? Cause I get high. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes, arms that chain us, eyes that lie. Break on through to the other side. Break on through. Ow. Oh yeah. Oh, she loves the owl.
Yes, I think it's more that she dislikes the cat outside.
That's possible.
I found an island in your arms. That's inconvenient, isn't it? You're having to carry an island around. You've got a country sticking in your eyes. I know you think these songs are brilliant.
I do think it's good. He's talking about him finding this girl who gets high and helps him break on through to the other side. He found when he got into her eyes, he found an island. So he was, an island is somewhere serene, protected. So he's protected from other things. Country in our eyes open up everything to him.
And those eyes lied. So there wasn't the country in them.
Yeah. And the arms were chaining us. Oh no.
See? I don't know about this. I guess he's saying that relationships can be an escape, but they can go wrong. Things change.
Do change. And he was very popular with the group as Jim Morrison, so things did change. Okay, last verse. Made the scene week to week, day to day, hour to hour. The gate is straight, deep and wide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through. Yeah.
Yes. How do you have straight spelled?
The normal way.
Right.
How do you have it spelled? Like a.
Well, the lyrics are spelled the normal way, yeah, but apparently this line is based on a book by Andre Gide, don't know, called Straight, Strait, is the Gate,
So it's talking about river, water, and seas.
No,
Right?
what it does is, in a Freudian manner, it probes the complexities and terrors of adolescence and growing up. The title "Straight is the Gate," originally before that, comes from Matthew 7:14 in your Bible, which says, "Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." So apparently this line is based on this book by Andre Gide.
Okay. So that's it. That's all the lyrics.
Because
Lindsay Planer from AllMusic comments that Morrison's lyrics reveal a literacy that had rarely been incorporated into rock music. So I think we need to add this in, right? We are in the 60s. Even the Beatles were still singing She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Who Wop a Diddy. There was nothing that wasn't straight up rock and roll. This was really different to everything else that was out there at the time. So I just want to put it within its framework, Professor A.
They were accused of ripping off 1-2 Brown Eyes by Them, who I mentioned earlier.
I've never heard of Them.
You've never heard of them? Oh.
No.
They've got, again, 2 songs which everyone will hear, will know.
Okay.
Baby Please Don't Go is one of them.
Baby, please don't go.
Wanna be your dog, wanna be your dog.
Ow.
Down in New Orleans, please don't go. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and they've got another one everyone knows as well. Well, they did the original version of Gloria, which was later credited to Van Morrison. It was then. Yeah. So they have a bit of a history of this being accused of ripping things off. Their song "Hello, I Love You," also covered by Adam Ant, which was a very good version. They were accused of ripping off "All Day and All of the Night" by the Kinks in that.
So Them, they were formed. So this is Van Morrison.
Yes, I
Van
said
Morrison.
that.
Yes. Okay. Formed in 1964.
Oh, and also I believe a young chap called Jimmy Page played on some of this stuff.
Oh wow. I've heard of him. So
they were after the Beatles, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar times. So yeah. What do I have here? Morrison's phraseology cleverly juxtaposes romantic lyrics such as "I Found an Island" with the almost sinister lines, "Arms that chained, eyes that lied."
Which is very similar to another song we covered, but not in this incarnation, which is "Your Blue Oyster Cult." And this just sort of the same unsalt has something about arms that grasp and things that do something that was slightly after. I should mention both Ray Manzarek and Robbie Krieger have played on Blue Oyster Cult albums as session people, and live. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting start because it's got this bossa nova beat.
It does.
Very jazzy sounding. The thing that I found the Doors official video of this. Of course, there were no videos at that time, but there's kind of a promotional video of them playing it.
The dog. Stop it.
And Robbie Krieger, the guitar player, was famous for only playing his Red SG. And in the video, he's not playing his Red SG. He's playing something that looks a bit like a git organ. It looks like a Gretsch or something. It's like a guitar with loads of switches. So something in the 60s with loads of switches is probably going to be a git organ, which is
never heard of such a beast.
So a git organ is a guitar with an organ built in. So you press some buttons and it'll play some organy sound. So I was thinking about that because there's bass in this song, right? We've spoken about the fact there is no bass player and that Ray Manzarek probably played the bass on his keys. You know, he was famous for playing a Rhodes piano. This is a classic Ray Manzarek style. But I just wondered if that's, potentially what he was using this guitar for. I Found that interesting.
It is interesting, yes. Also, apparently, it employs the Aeolian mode.
The Aeolian, that's minor.
Yeah. Why didn't they say that?
Because it's not cool. You've got to say the modes.
Right. Okay, fair enough. That's not as interesting as I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was bass keyboard. And again, it's a very similar riff to 1-2 Brown Eyes.
Yeah. Would you like a word count?
Oh, let's do a stingy sting sting.
It is time for Professor J's word count.
I guess.
Get lyrics on screen again so I can cheat. It's 55 unique, 100 total.
Not far. 64 unique with 187 total. There's a lot of yeahs and break on through. So yeah, and it's short, 2 minutes 26.
It's a lot of words for 2 minutes 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do a power score?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think that his writing improved from here. I know you think he's great, but I don't think this song is particularly.
Okay.
I'd give you a 4, maybe.
Well, I thought you were going to be
I'm not
less generous than that.
I mean, things are nice. The Gate Is Straight bit, now we know what it was on about.
I don't think it's worth 4.
Day Destroys the Night, Night Divides the Day. It sounds very like something you two have sung. Yeah. All right, okay, 3 then.
Okay, 3. For that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And I believe we have side 1, track 2.
Indeed, we do. And this is a lengthy epic, this one. It's 3 minutes 30 long.
Yeah. So the next one we've chosen is Soul Kitchen. Because there's a bit that I really like. And we'll come on to that. But let's just dive straight into some words. Well, the clock says it's time to close now. I guess I'd better go now. Really like to stay here all night. The cars crawl past, all stuffed with eyes. Streetlights share their hollow glow. Your brain seems bruised with numb surprise, still one place to go. Now that is poetry, my friend. That's not part of the lyrics. You seem to be waiting for something, Professor A.
I was waiting for the poetry to start. The clock says it's time to close now. So presumably this is a bar in which your gym is abusing your alcohol.
Yeah.
And he guesses you better go now. Yes, they'd probably appreciate that. But he'd really like to stay there abusing the alcohols further. So he goes outside, and there's cars crawling past, all stuffed with eyes. What's that all about?
What do you think it's about?
It's a car full of eyes, just like his girl had an island in her arms.
I mean, stuff with eyes means that he's high, right?
I thought it meant actually that people were staring at him from cars as he was outside.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you're like that, you sort of pick out on certain things. I think it just indicates that he's high. Streetlights share their hollow glow. Your brain seems bruised with numb surprise. You know,
Streetlights shed their hollow glow.
Shed, yeah, shed. That makes more sense.
So yeah, it's dark. We knew that because he's been kicked out of the bar. So streetlights are doing what they say on the tin. Your brain seems bruised with numb surprise. Wait, is he talking to someone else, or is he just talking to himself again? Because he's saying, "I guess I'd better go." Not I guess we'd better go now. So it looks like he's on his own. So I think he's talking to himself when he's talking about your brain. Stop it, Orchie Malinois.
I mean, I think it just bruised brain is somebody coming down off something.
I think he's drunk.
Drunk or otherwise.
Mm.
So he's still got one place to go. Where's he going to go?
He's going to go to Olivia's on Venice
Yes.
Beach.
Soul food restaurant.
Yeah.
What is soul food?
It's the food generally eaten in southern black cultures, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Ethnic cuisine of African Americans. Great. I love it.
It's sort of like grits and like
Spicy stuff.
okra.
Yeah, so that's what's referred to as the Soul Kitchen. It's a restaurant.
Yeah.
So, more words. Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind near your gentle stove. Turn me out and I'll wander, baby, stumbling in the neon groves. So yeah, so he gets to his restaurant where they let him sleep a bit, nice and warm.
It's open all night as well, which is, our restaurants usually open all night. I don't know. It's open after the bars are closed.
It's open after the bars, and he would go there and try and sleep, and then they'd kick him out. Hence him, turn me out and I'll wander, baby, stumbling in the neon groves. And then the bit I really like is coming up.
Well, the neon groves is quite nice. It's presumably the neon lights of nightclubs and things.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just, the neon in the... Neon was probably very popular at the time in the sort of Venice Beach, LA area.
I don't know when neon came in.
That sort of time, 50s, 60s, I associate it with.
Yeah, the old diners had neon signs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next bit. Well, your fingers weave quick minarets, speak in secret alphabets. I light another cigarette, learn to forget. Learn to forget.
Yeah, sort of rhymes.
It's brilliant. Minarets, alphabet, cigarette.
Well, okay, but minarets are sort of towers where on Muslim mosque things. So whose fingers are weaving these towers?
I don't know.
What does it mean? You can't say something's poetry and it's great. We don't know what it means.
That's the whole idea with poetry. You're not supposed to know what it means.
I don't know.
Isn't that correct?
Not really. I mean, I admit I did waste my life doing my degree, but I'd waste it even more if that were true. Yes, people have suggested that secret alphabets refers to the fact that he used to use encryption techniques and Caesar shifts to open up words and get inspiration for his poetry and lyrics.
Say that again.
Encryption techniques and the Caesar shift, which is a form of a cipher for encryption. I don't think that's true at all. I think he just means speaking words I don't understand.
Right.
Learn to forget. Perhaps he's trying to forget the breakup with his father. Perhaps it's break up with his girl who dropped her island and chained him up or something. I don't know.
Somebody reckons that your fingers weave quick minarets is a visual description of cooking.
Okay.
Essentially taking the order, because we're still in the soul kitchen, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or the waiter taking his order.
Well, he's been turned out. I don't know.
But he's still saying, please let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen.
I don't know. It's great. Whatever. Best band in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly. Okay.
No more lyrics. That's it.
There's a little bit more. Clock says it's time to close now. I know I have to go now. I really want to stay here all night, all night, all night. All night. Look at the music in this song, Professor A.
It's all right. Critics have described it as variously hard rock and funky blues rock. Or blues funky rock. I can't remember.
And interesting, it's led by a bass guitar.
Yes. It's also been described as stomping rock.
It is stumpy. I like it. Got great sound. Really clean.
This, yeah, it has. This is one of these disputed bass songs again. Robbie Krieger says he played it, but their engineer Bruce Botnick claimed that it was played by session musician Larry Knechtel.
Oh,
who knows?
not part of the wrecking crew, is he?
And Ray Manzarek is credited as playing the Vox Continental, which presumably is an organ of some kind, and keyboard bass. So who knows?
Yeah.
There's 3 contenders for it.
Boom, 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 boom.
It was covered by the band X on their first album, Los Angeles. Manzarek wrote, it was soul kitchen at 1,000 miles an hour. I was completely hooked. It was like you were standing behind a 747 with the engines on full blast. So he liked their cover. I mean, if it's 1,000 mile an hour version, it'd be over in about 30 seconds. I should think. Have to look that one up.
I like this song a lot.
And the guitar riff is an homage to the horn section of James Brown's Papa's Got a Brand New Bag.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Look for that.
Papa's got a brand new bag. Yes. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Word count.
Word count. Word count is 78 unique words with 164 in total.
Less words in total than break on through.
Yeah, I mean, there's less. We'll break on through. Yeah. Break on through. Ow.
Yeah.
It's not a single. Oh, there's one yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a baby. Yeah, and a baby. Good.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a bare minimum of these things.
Want a PAL score this one? Arbitrary
Yes.
lyrical score?
I mean, streetlights shed their hollow glows. Nice. I'm not sure about the car stuff with those.
I think that's you're high on something and you see an eye and you catch it and it's like, yeah. I like that. Stuff with those.
Still think it's just people are staring at him as he stumbles out of the bar, out of his skull. Yeah. The clock says it's time to close now.
Yeah. Guess I better go now.
Warm my mind near your gentle stove. Why is the stove gentle? It's not going to cook anything, is it?
Cooking is done. They're trying to kick him out.
I suppose the soul food stuff is probably low and slow. Stumbling in the neon groves. Stumbling for a start, not stumbling.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this minarets thing. I know you like it, but it doesn't mean anything.
But it rhymes. Doesn't matter. It rhymes.
What do you want to give it? Then I will talk you back to reality.
At least a 4.
I'll give you a 4. That's fine. Go 4.5.
4.5. 4.5. All right. Let's go on to the last one for today. Which is an interesting one.
A very short one, just for a change.
It's short, but it's important. So this is The Crystal Ship. Okay, this is one of the first big songs, and this is actually the B-side of Light My Fire, which we'll come on to in the next episode. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, I think I have. Oh, I've heard the first Doors album, so yes.
Okay.
But not recently, I haven't.
Okay, so sometimes I wish I'd never tried to understand what the lyrics are. I'm a bit annoyed by this one. Okay. Before you slip into unconsciousness, I'd like to have another kiss. Another flashing chance at bliss. Another kiss. Another kiss.
Apparently, it's about his first serious girlfriend who he's just broken up with.
Yeah.
Mary Werbelow.
Yeah, kind of wanting closure
Hmm.
from that relationship by having
Yeah.
the final kiss, which I don't really get.
Apparently, he was with her for 3 years, so it was a serious girl.
That's pretty serious for him.
Yes.
Yeah. I always thought it was, I want to kiss you before you go to sleep, that sort of thing. But then
Before you
looking at
slip
it,
into
no.
unconsciousness, it should be that. Yes.
Yeah. But it's not before you slip. I think it's the relationship is slipping into
Right.
unconsciousness, right?
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. More words. The days are bright and filled with pain. Enclose me in your gentle rain. The time you ran was too insane. We'll meet again. We'll meet again.
These are not great lyrics, this verse. These are bright and filled with pain. Enclose me in your gentle rain.
I love that. I love that.
It's Steven Seagal again.
It's not Steven Seagal. It is not Steven Seagal.
The time you ran was too insane. We'll meet again. Meet again. It's got a bit virulent in it.
I see you have gone virulent.
Oh, dear.
Wow.
What do you think's good about this?
I think it's,
Rhymes.
I like someone who likes to take a walk in the rain. I appreciate that, someone taking,
Sure. Yeah.
close me in your gentle rain. Let's compare it to some Steven Seagal lyrics. Would you feel the same if I was invisible and touchable? Would you call my name if you no longer see my face? I won't be far away.
Simple.
I'll be in your ocean. I'll live in the sky. I'll be here forever. Don't you cry. There's no separation between you and I. I'll be here forever. Don't you cry. I'll never die.
The streets of fields that never die.
I went down to Mississippi and tried to beg a ride. I saw Jesus and the devil. They was walking side by side.
I wasn't talking about that one. I was talking about the first one.
How's score did we give them?
I don't think we've done it yet.
Oh, we haven't done them yet.
We need to do our second catch-up episode.
We do.
But it's going to be at least 10, I think.
It's going to break all known records. Okay, more words.
Yes. Should point out
tell
one
me
little thing about this. It doesn't have any choruses. It's 4 verses, and that's your lot. I like that. I respect that.
This is your poetry. Okay. Oh, tell me where your freedom lies. The streets are fields that never die. Deliver me from reasons why. You'd rather cry, I'd rather fly.
Straight to go.
You alligator ass.
Oh, dear. Yeah, people have suggested about this song that I'd rather fly means he'd rather get high, which is. Are we allowed to say that on YouTube? Because you weren't allowed to say it on television in the 60s, and there's so many things that we need to say we're not allowed to say on YouTube. Are we allowed to say hi? We said hi. Oh, well.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Yeah. The streets are fields that never die. Well, they're not, are they? The streets. I don't get.
Yeah, but it's like grass that always never gets burnt out in the sun or gets cut. It keeps growing.
Streets don't grow. Concrete doesn't grow. It's not a sustainable life form. Oh, I've lost my dog.
But it doesn't get cut and it doesn't die out in the scorching sun.
Yeah, but it's not a field. Excuse me. Dogger! I'm going to pause and fetch my dogger. And we're back in the room. I'm sorry, you probably feel quite attacked by a view of these lyrics. That's not the intention. I will say, I think several of his later songs are much better lyrically.
Oh. Shakuna Songu. All right, more words. The crystal ship is being filled. 1,000 girls, 1,000 thrills. A million ways to spend your time. When we get back, I'll drop a line.
Yeah.
He's got other stuff to do, hasn't he?
Yeah. Drop a line's good because it can have a dual meaning in this context.
Yeah.
Making
Right.
a sort of sending correspondence or of dropping a line on your ship to tether it.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But what is this crystal ship he's talking about?
That's a very good question. What does this come from, do you think? I mean,
Well,
you tell me.
there's two theories, aren't there? One, I think it's meant to be based on something else by Blake. I can't find what exactly.
Don't worry, I'll fill you in.
Yes, and the other,
Shortly.
the Crystal Cabinet by Blake. That's right.
There we go.
But people have suggested that portions are borrowed from the 12th century Irish Libor na Huidre, the Book of the Dun Cow. Brown cow, that means, I presume. I have no idea. He wrote it after taking LSD on an Isla Vista beach as he stared at the blinking lights of an offshore oil rig named Platform Holly.
Do you know much about the Crystal Cabinet by that there, Blake?
I don't. It's not one of the ones I've ever read.
Okay, so let me give you an edited highlights.
Okay.
The maiden caught me in the wild where I was dancing merrily. She put me into her cabinet and locked me up with a golden key. This cabinet is formed of gold and pearl and crystal shining bright, and within it opens into a world and a little lovely moony night. Another England there I saw, another London with its tower, another Thames and other hills, and another pleasant Surrey bower. Pause. What does bower mean, Professor A? Serious
Stable kind
question.
of thing, isn't it? I think.
I don't know, because it's going to come up in another song we're going to talk about so this is why it was interesting to me that it mentions the word bower.
Yeah.
And it's going to come up in a later song in another episode.
Let me do a Google for you.
Well, the Google says it either means a card, such as a jack in card games, or there is some allusion to a vine, which is known as the beauty vine.
I've got a pleasant shady place under trees.
That's what I think a bower.
As in arbor, which is very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to come back, and it is garden related, so I presume it is that. So carrying on with the poem, jumping forward a bit. I strove to seize the inmost form with ardor fierce and hands of flame, but burst the crystal cabinet, and like a weeping babe became. So the crystal cabinet is a dreamlike encounter in which the speaker is captured by a maiden and imprisoned in a crystalline realm. The speaker witnesses an alternate England, complete with a new maiden and a sense of ethereal beauty. The poem, and then when he tries to grab it, it crashes. The poem explores the themes of desire, longing, and the pursuit of the unattainable.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So, as we know, this was probably written with his ex-girlfriend in mind.
Yeah.
Is he suggesting that she put him in a cabinet and constrained him in some way?
Yeah.
And has disappeared and is now unassailable.
Yeah.
I suggest.
Yeah. I think that.
But why is it a ship? Because he was looking at an oil rig. Why wasn't it an oil rig?
Yeah, maybe.
A crystal oil rig. Much better.
Crystal ship is being filled with 1,000 girls and 1,000 thrills. So he wants to. He's been with this girl, but I mean, he was taking advantage of the opportunities that were made available to him. So it wasn't. I think that's the crystal ship. This crystal ship of all these enticing things of the world, but he knows that when he gets down to this crystal ship, the whole thing's going to explode, and it explodes pretty catastrophically, and that's part of the thing around his death. He went to Paris because he couldn't go anywhere in the US because and in the UK because he was too well known. Everybody recognized him.
Yeah.
Whereas in Paris, he had a certain level of anonymity.
Yeah, that one.
Nobody knew him.
Yes. Which is strange, really, because
yeah.
he did look like Val Kilmer. You'd think they'd noticed that.
It is uncanny how much Val Kilmer looked like Jim Morrison in the film.
Yeah. Very good.
Such a good film.
But the last line, when we get back, I'll drop a line. Is he suggesting that after his music career, where he's got all these groupies and all these drugs, he will seek her out again?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's like people who, who are in a relationship before they go to university, have an agreement that they're allowed to play around while they're at university, and then when they come back, game on again. Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
There we go. Do you want to do a word count on this one?
Well, there's no repetitious yes. That's something. So it's probably about 30 words in each verse. So 120 total and 60 unique.
It's 99 total with 73 unique, which makes
very high.
Ratio 74% unique, which is equal first with Sam Fender's Mantra.
Which again was not many words. It's basically an instrumental song with a couple of words tacked on.
Yeah. There's another theory about the crystal ship. Are you aware of this one? You know what crystal also refers to?
Crystal meth, I presume. Was that around then?
Yep. So there is a theory that the song was about crystal meth, with the ship representing a hypodermic needle, and the kiss the act of drug injection.
Right.
But it's roundly not agreed with.
Yeah, I mean it's a standard interpretation. Any song can be said to be about drugs.
Yeah, drugs or girls.
Or vampires, yeah.
Drugs or relationships. Yeah.
I'm disappointed you haven't given me a vampire song this week.
There are no vampire songs. We'll have some lizards, but there'll be no vampires in the play. Yeah, this book, the Le Bonheur, the Book of the Dun Cow.
Yeah.
Is the earliest remaining text in Irish.
Really?
From the 12th century. But it's basically a compilation of a load of different books.
Right.
So I haven't found which one it's referring to. There we go. Do you want to try and give this one a PAL score?
We shall, but just before that, I should notice The Guardian in 2015 compiled a list of the best Doors songs. And they put this one at number 2, which I thought was quite high.
It is high. Unconsciousness. Got that Baroque feel, hasn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm just shocked at how short it is and how short they all are. Obviously, we will get to the end at some point.
Well, there are longer ones.
Yes. Oh. PAL score. I don't think I particularly like the fact that every line rhymes.
See what's rhyming? Lies, dies, why fly? Filled, thrills, time, line. Pain, rain, sane again.
Although filled and thrills don't really rhyme. Yes. It's all right. I don't like through the streets of fields that never die because I just don't think it works as a metaphor. Driven me from reasons why you'd rather cry, I'd rather fly is a cross between Steven Seagal and early Oasis. Yes. What would you like to award it? It is your choice.
I embrace your disgust of verse 2. I really like verse 1.
Right.
verse 4. So
Yeah. All right.
4.
4's fine by me.
Solid 4.
Yeah. He put some effort into it. More than
Yeah.
Ian Astbury's put into any song, let's face
What? He could hear you. He'd burn some bay leaf in your general direction.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. That's the first 3 from the Doors. We've got another couple episodes on the Doorsies.
Yes, a couple with 4 songs each, I believe.
We will confirm.
Ah, yes, I remember what you said before.
We've snuck him. Yeah, we'll confirm that. Okay. That was them, their Doors.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to say? Or?
Not today.
Not today.
Plenty more to say.
Professor Doggers had a fair amount to say.
She's had a lot to say today.
She gets very excited when we have the first episode of a new band. Then she gets more and more bored as it goes on. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Give us a like, give us a ringy bell, give us a comment, give us a subscribe, give us a donut. I don't know. I need to think of these things in advance, don't I?
Tea.
Tea. Give us some tea.
Pizza.
Pizza, yeah. Anything you like.
Yeah.
Just give us the stuff.
Give us all that.
Yeah, thank you. And we will see you next week for some more Doorsy goodness. Farewell.